speaking and training is one of the best ways for you to demonstrate your authority, your credibility, and what you do best. This is why we, me and my brand, which is called Build Your Brand Online, we teach people how to run online events using these online events, like using what we call the sample method. The sample method is really cool. It's basically like you go to a grocery store, they give out free food sometimes, right? And they give you free food to try, and you try it and you're like, that was really good. I think I'm gonna buy the box. That's called the sampler method, right? And this is what we teach our students to do, is we teach them how to create samples for their business using a platform like Zoom to do an online talk, right? Here's a little bit of what we do. Here's a little bit of momentum. Here's a little bit of a demonstration of how it works. And you can do this yourself. And if you like that, then you're gonna love this, right? That's what we do. You wanna be demonstrating your authority, right? And so speaking is one of the best ways to do that, because people are thinking that you are the perceived expert because you're there in front of them, right? You're talking in front of someone and they're like, oh, this person must know what they're talking about because they're in front of me and they're speaking, right? It's like this obvious thing. So when it comes down to it though, what are you gonna talk about, okay? So there's three things that I want to bring up. You know, most people like to boast, right? They like talk themselves up, and I get it, right? You wanna build that credibility. But you know what does much better than that? Is actually connecting with your audience. And the way that you connect with someone is through a connecting story. Now, what's a connecting story? A connecting story is, number one, knowing who your audience is. And number two is creating something universal as a story in your life to a story that would be universal for almost everyone in attendance. People have experienced something along the lines. So if I was saying I run a multi-million-dollar business with, you know, a team of 15 and blah, 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 most people on this call would not connect with me. Why? Because you have no connection to that. You might not have done that before. But that being said, the story I just said about the sampler, many people have experienced similar things than that. That's a connection type story, right? And so your opportunity is to create connection when you are starting so that people feel connected to you. They want to learn more about you because they feel like you're on a level playing field. They feel connected to what you're doing, right? This builds automatic trust right away. It gets them to feel like they're on your side because they relate to you, they resonate with you, versus, oh, this person is on a pedestal, they are like untouchable, right? That works for some people, but not for everyone, right? And what works even better is connecting to people. So what is your personal story? What are different stories? What are situations and circumstances you've been through that you can create some sort of connection with, a parallel as far as what you're going to be talking about? So for our events that I do, my opening story is very similar to, you know, when our business wasn't doing as well. And I was really thinking about, are we gonna survive, right? It's pretty crazy. And then I go into where my wife told me she was pregnant, and that this one sentence changed my life. And I was forced to think differently, to act differently, to do things differently, because what I was doing before was not getting me the best results anymore. And so I decided to do something different and had an amazing discovery of these online events. And not only did these online events, you know, do $500,000 in a week, but they were able to put our business back on track and get us to the point that we really, really enjoy. And today I'm going to teach you about the online event mechanism that we use to get there, right? So I use these connection stories throughout my talk so that people feel connected to me. Now, maybe the $500,000 isn't connecting, but that's my triumph to throw in a little credibility in there. But people who have kids, or remember the moment where they were told that they're having a kid. That's a connection point. Or people who are trying really hard but not getting the results they want, that's a connection point. Everyone is understanding that you got to build connection, right? It's not about being the best, it's about being the most connected. That's where the people will listen to you, is when you are connected, right? People disengage from you when they don't feel connected to you anymore. And so I don't know about you, but there's been many people who have been speaking and I'm like, oh, this is so boring because it's not connecting, right? So I want you to, first of all, in your talks or whatever you're doing, is connect with people through making sure that you are creating some sort of connection, right? So that's why I started with the sampler story. When I was talking about this, is it creates a little bit of connection of like, oh, that makes sense, right? Number two, one of the things I can't stand when people do talks is they don't give anything concrete. It's like, tell me your story for 50 minutes. Tell me your case study for another 10 minutes. Tell me about these mistakes that you've made, but then there's nothing that I can actually do, right? What a waste of time, okay? If you want to be a great speaker, give away something good. Give away something tangible. Give away something that people can actually walk away with, okay? So there's a difference between a short-term win and a long-term win. A short-term win is something that someone could do right there, right on that spot, or within the next 24 hours. Yeah, Natasha, something to use, right? But a long-term win is something that they got to continue to do to get this result. And that's hopefully working with you, right? And so it's okay to give away some short-term wins, because the truth is there's more to it than just short-term winning. You got to do this for a while, right? So cool, we get a short-term win together, awesome. If not, then we get the long-term win, which is long-term is us working together. So we want to make sure you're giving something away tangibly, right? Tangibly means, what do they walk away with? And there's got to be a purpose to it, an outcome to it. So is that a plan? Is it an exercise? Is it something to do when they get home, right? What are they doing? Is it writing, like some sort of reflection? Whatever it is, you got to make sure that they get something tangible from it, because then you'll become memorable. If you don't, you're going to become what they call a waste of time. Hype gets forgotten about. Why? Well, we remembered, motivation is something that comes and goes. So if you are motivated in the time, great. No one's going to remember you the next week. But if you give something tangible and give someone a win, guess what happens? They get more results with you. They understand that, oh, I learned that from that guy. I actually got that from that person or that girl or that woman, right? That speaker. So they remember you for that. What does that do? It makes you more memorable in their mind, makes them more likely for them to work with you. As far as the third thing is my favorite, is we're not robots. I know we like to want to think to become one, right? Just maybe not. Okay, sorry, I can be very corny at times. I guess that's the new dad part of me, right? And so we're not robots. We want to speak in stories, right? One of the best things is people understand stories super well, okay? But you don't want to make the stories crazy. You just want to, make them part of life, right? And so what we want to do is we want to think of stories in parallels. What does a parallel mean? A parallel means my story has a connection to a principle, a lesson, a parallel of what I want them to get out of it. So we don't just tell a story to tell a story, right? Hey, I went to my son's Halloween parade and it was so fun. Like, cool, right? I did kind of say something like that, but that's not part of the talk, right? The story has to have a parallel to what it is. So maybe the story, like I like to tell a story sometimes about hiring an expert or taking action or making sure that, I understand what I'm doing. So stories, the best way to tell a story is to think about what emotion or what thing we want our audience to do. Okay, so if we want our audience to hire an expert, we should tell a story about possibly hiring an expert. If we want people to take action, we need to tell a story about what it was like to take action in certain things. My wife, she woke me up early, and she was like, we got Jordan's parade. And I was like, babe, I've got so much work to do today. I can't make it. And she was like, fine, do your thing. But then my stomach and my gut started to really say, you should go. You should do this. You don't get many opportunities where you can see your son's first Halloween parade. And so I made the decision. I decided to put my things on pause so that I could step in to the parade. And when I got there, my son saw me and he was lit up. And I remembered that the best opportunities are when you don't realize them. The best opportunities happen when you don't necessarily want to do things, but you do. And the things that do the best come at the times where maybe you're not ready for them, which is why you should be taking action today. Why you should understand that, hey, it might not be the best time for you, but this is the best opportunity for you.